Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on, party people? Hey, Crackers, thank you for the clap, my friend. Always on time. I feel like you timed those claps. How's it going, everybody? Let's see who's in the house. We got Iman Ahmed Music. What is going on? Danny Mansfeld Band is in his house. Carl von Mansfeld. Tris Torch. What's going on, Tristan? How's it going, my brother? Scrappy83 is in the house. I love that you guys are all out swinging. 4 Derpy pauses, listening along while she's driving. Drive safe, Derps. Oh, who is that? Welcome to the tribe, Mark. How's it going, my friend? Thank you for that follow. That means the world to us, man. Rock Ned. What's going on? Happy Hump Day. Yeah, it's not technically. I think Tuesday is our Hump Day. We have our weekend is Friday, Saturday, which is fucking weird for the rest of the world. But how's it going, everybody? Welcome to the show. Welcome to season 2. We finished 100 episodes. Do you guys remember when we were on Facebook and I was like, yo, I think we could do 5 of these? Like it's absolute chaos. We finished 100 episodes of season 1. We're on season 2 and I'm fucking excited to be kicking things off. We're changing some things up. It's a little more professional today. So if you can tell, there's a lot of the channel redemptions turned off. So we're not complete chaos and freaking people out, but it's still the same old tribe. You guys can, if you're subbed, you can use the exclamation point commands. You guys don't know that the crazy stuff we have on here, but yeah, I'm very excited to kick season 2 off with one of my favorite people on Twitch. I'll tell you exactly how I bumped into this channel and learned more about Beez, but Beez from Moshtalks. If you're a metalhead that's in our age range, you've seen this guy's face. He's probably asked your favorite band a couple of questions or reviewed an album or two that you've definitely checked out. You might have disagreed with him, you might have agreed with him, but he's been a pillar in the rock and metal world for a very long time, and I'm fucking stoked to ask the guy that asks questions a question. So it'll be a lot of fun. We're officially starting the episode, you guys. Hit the welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Beez, welcome to the show, my friend.
Man, your intro music got me so hyped I was going to flip my desk. That's amazing. That's amazing intro music you got there, man. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you very much for saying that. Actually, that's kind of tied into how I found out about you being on Twitch. But before we get into that, generally here on the show we say I gave you a little bit of an intro before the intro, but just in your own words, if you can, introduce yourself to the tribe, to the people that might not know Beez.
I usually call myself a music journalist because I've worked across all fields of media. I've been a print journalist. I've run a television channel for rock and metal back in the UK and presented on there. I hosted Download Festival. But I like to think of myself as a fan with a microphone. It's how I always describe myself, because I feel like fans don't have to worry about the sort of things that people inside the business do. But I choose to always be a fan. And I think that makes me a little bit of a quandary for the music business. But yeah, I'm a music critic / interviewer, I guess.
That's one of the things that I think a lot of people gravitate towards, is that you genuinely having seen the interviews, the reviews, all the stuff you've done, give a fuck. Like you really dig this stuff, or not like it if it's something that you don't like, but there's no debate when it comes to like the passion that goes into that stuff.
Yeah, it's my life, man. Like, this music changed everything. And like, I know that sometimes feels like something that's quite pithy to say, but genuinely, like, I got my job, which was working in rock and metal. That's all I've done with my adult life. I met my wife through rock and metal. Like, everything about my life has swam through the river. of rock and metal, and it's my life. I'm passionate about it every single day, and I'm thankful that even as the years roll on, I don't think that I'm jaded with music at all. I love it. I genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, I love it the same way as I did when I was 16. So yeah, this shit's my life, man.
I kind of want to go through that journey. I kind of want to go from the very beginning when you started falling in love with music. But I also want to let you know, since Tristan's in the chat, how I found out about you being on Twitch, because I've seen your work on YouTube with Beez Bezer, with Moshtalks and with Scuzz TV, everything that was on there. But Tristan Torch in the chat sent me a clip of you listening to Svengali, to my band, which is that intro music. And,
no way!
And you reacting to it because he requested it as a sub.
Amazing.
And he sent me that clip, and I was like, how did you get? This is before I even was on Twitch. How did you get this guy to listen to Svengali? And he's like, oh no, you could do this redeem thing. And I sent it to him I had no idea what the fuck any of this stuff was.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. I was like, oh dude, I need to check this out. And
did Twitch blow your mind?
Twitch completely blew my mind. Thank you, Danny, for that. No, it was I genuinely I was not ready. That was it. It was super cool to see the interactivity of it. Like you were sitting in a room with a bunch of people that were showing you music. It wasn't like a content creator and viewer boundary thing that was happening. It wasn't a YouTube video where they were watching it after, but people were commenting at the same time and you were reacting to their comments, and it completely blew my mind. But that song that he showed you was the song that we clipped that intro music from.
At least I'm consistent then.
It was perfect. That's why you're like you liked it, and you liked it back then, so it was pretty cool.
Incredible. I love it, man. I've always loved that communal aspect. That's the thing that makes rock and metal tick. My old podcast used to have like the kind of sub headline of "Our show is your show," because it should reflect what people want and what people are talking about, and just having my own voice within that.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanna let's jump back in time. Let's talk about young Beez and trying to figure out what you want to do, or just starting to fall in love with music. What was the early years like?
So my first musical love, don't laugh you lot, was Bryan Adams of Summer of '69 fame. Was the first time, so I got into Bryan Adams as a kid, and I had this live album called Bryan Adams Live, right? And it had him covering I Fought the Law by The Clash on it. And until I was in my early 20s, I thought that song was a Bryan Adams song. It fully, I didn't get that. And then it became Oasis. I was the right age for Britpop. And it became Oasis and Blur and Pulp and Sleeper and Elastica and Cast and all those kind of bands. And I was kind of passionate about it. But then came Metallica. Mm-hmm. And that passion has never died off in the slightest. And I started with Metallica, and inside 3 months, I was walking around in a Sepultura hoodie, like I would defend metal with every last breath I would have. And that was my intro to music, to this music. It was actually seeing the Until It Sleeps video. Have you seen the Until It Sleeps Metallica video?
I have, yeah.
Right.
Absolutely,
so
yeah.
I loved horror as a kid. So seeing that really sinister imagery, I was like, this song sucks, but the video's amazing. And then as I kept listening to it, seeing it and watching the video more, I got into the song. And then the next single was Hero of the Day, which slaps. And the rest is history. That was it. But basically, Metallica was the thing that made me fall in love with this music.
Which is, I believe, a lot of people's gateway. But you related horror show, and I believe I've heard you say into the weirder, more heavier stuff, horror films, and then Marilyn Manson was kind of the gateway into the more extreme world of rock and metal.
Yeah, I guess Manson was there. Like, so the first bunch of records that I bought was Load by Metallica, the Smashing Pumpkins' Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, Sepultura, Roots, Marilyn Manson, Antichrist Superstar, and the self-titled album from Garbage were like the first bunch. I really remember this, like the first 2-3 weeks when I was just going in and buying albums that had singles on that I liked. But yeah, I like when horror meets metal. And that can be anything from, I've got a Misfits tattoo on this side of my neck, not the other side. Yeah, I've got a Misfits tattoo. I love Slipknot. Manson's a bit of a hot potato at the moment, but Murder Dolls, and what do I like today that's like it? Creeper. Like anything that has that horror aesthetic, I love when it's interspliced with music. I love the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Like anything that brings horror and alternative imagery. I'm just into the whole culture itself.
The thing that I love about talking to people like yourself that have been in the game for so long, but also just general content creators and people that go out of their way for music or to highlight or fanzines or anything like that, starting podcasts. What was the switch for you from I like this music, which a lot of people do, they start to fall in love with metal, to I want to go out of my way to make this my entire life? Like, where was that pivot? Where was the I like Misfits, I might get a tattoo, to no, I want to ask these guys questions and figure out how I could be a journalist when it comes to this music?
I loved magazines, man. Like, I really loved magazines at that point in time. They were really funny and they had a really good sense of fun, and they were written by people that still carry that sense of fun. Like, I'm quite lucky that like all of the people that were my heroes, who were not just rock stars, but music journalists, all become your friends over the years. And what I love about the age of magazines, the particular age of magazines that I fell in love with, is that all those people are exactly like you and me. Like, they live and breathe it. They're still there arguing about Warrant albums on Facebook on the timeline now. Like the people that were writing these magazines at the time. So I liked the humor and I liked all the rest of it. But more than anything, what my passion has always been is bands that are great that just don't reach enough ears. There are so many incredible bands out there, and you are relying upon a handful of people who might have really bad taste, I add, right? You are relying upon a bunch of people to push forward the rock and metal that you should be listening to. And I felt like I had a strong voice and I cared enough and I could articulate my points enough. Like, you can't just say something's bad, right? You have to give reasons. If you're going to say something is not good, then you have to be thorough with that. The band have put their life into that art. If you don't dig it, the least you can do is come up with actual reasons rather than just like,
absolutely.
But it was the magazines at the time and just really wanting a voice in the world. I still feel that way.
Yeah, I relate to that a lot, because the whole reason Unmuted started was I've only been doing this for a year. Unmuted as a whole just has been a year old, but it was I had somewhat of a platform. I used to do vlogs and content creation for other people and stuff, and then I thought, listen, the pandemic hit. All these people have, including myself, have all these albums and stuff that people might never get to see on the road, or no one's ever going to interview them. Let me shine some light on people that have, put all this effort into this music. And that's kind of how it started. I had to focus on the Middle Eastern scene, but it's like you said, it's almost like if no one else will do it, I'll be the guy for the underground scene. That's kind of the mentality that we went into it.
That's it. And it's not just about like heaviness, because I understand like you can't play Cannibal Corpse at 3:00 in the afternoon and expect people to not, like everyone to be into it on that radio station. Like I accept that. but it's not just about extremity. It's about just good, high quality stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So what was it like knowing that you wanted to do that? What were the first steps? First magazines, first radio, first TV? What was it like for you getting into the media side of it?
Yeah, man. I loved it all. I consumed every bit of rock and metal that I could. So it was Kerrang! Magazine every Wednesday, Metal Hammer once a month, which was my first love. Ian Camfield, big up Ian, who is now on air in Phoenix, Arizona from London, who had an XFM rock show. And eventually Radio 1 had a rock show with Mary Ann Hobbs. And I consumed all of that. But my first steps was, you have to take like 2 weeks. We call it work experience in the UK, but it's basically 2 weeks of internship you have to do. And I did one of my 2 weeks at Metal Hammer magazine, which is like, if you wanted to play football as a kid, it was like basically like doing your work experience for Real Madrid. As far as I was concerned, I was sitting amongst the people that literally had the life that I wanted, and it was everything I wanted it to be. Everyone in there really gave a shit. They were all really funny. They were really snipey about bands, which I think is there is no good without bad, right? Absolutely. Like if everything is good, nothing is good, because there's no distinguishing between, well, if it's all good, like what's better than what? Like I just think there's varying degrees to all of this, and to hear people, articulate and funny people, being just so full of opinions, I felt at home straight away. So that was my first step, was doing a week's internship. And I was always in trouble at school, and not for things that were malicious, for exactly the sort of things that you'd expect from me if you know me, right? Like, so I'm very cheeky. I like to think I'm quite quick-witted. My favorite joke that I ever did at school was I was always being caught talking in class because I can't shut up, as you notice. So I was always being caught talking in class, and the teacher went, "Mr. Bezer, can I share your joke?" And I went, "Sure, miss." 2 guys walk into a bar. And that was the kind of student that I was that would get myself into trouble. So when I went on this work experience, they send a teacher out to kind of come and check on you, to make sure you're there, to see how you're getting on. And my geography teacher turned up. And they came into, one of the people, the staff members from Metal Hammer came into the office and went, "Terry, I don't know how to tell you this, your geography teacher's here." I was like, oh shit, I didn't know that they were doing sweeps and checks. So yeah. I went down, and my geography teacher was sat there, and I was telling him, like, "How are you getting on?" And I was like, "I love it. This is exactly what I want to do with my future." Like, and they were expecting me to kind of be a little shit and kind of got on everyone's nerves. And I was so proud that I was stood there talking to my geography teacher, and as the 2 main guys from Metal Hammer at the time, the editor was a girl, but the 2 main guys that were there walked out of the office. And as they went, "Do you want anything from the shop, Terry?" And I was like, "No, I'm good, thanks." And my geography teacher's like jaw hit the floor. But yeah, I ended up working there, bizarrely. So I started working for a fanzine called Drowned in Sound. I did my first interview with Jared from Head P when they were touring Broke at the Reading Festival. And as it so happens, and a lot of my life goes this way, when I was doing this interview, I bumped in afterwards to one of those 2 guys from Metal Hammer. Wow. And I sent them my work. They sent feedback. They said, "Send us more work at the end of the year," because that was in the summer. So I kept working for my fanzine. I sent them work at the end of the year. They brought me in for a week to cover for the online editor. And from on the Thursday night at Soil's first ever UK show, right? When Halo, when they were like, "This is our new single, this is Halo," and it was the only song that anyone knew, right? Yeah. At that show, because I was raving about Soil, because it sounded a bit like Black Label Society meets Rob Zombie to me at that time, so I loved it. And on the Thursday night at the show, the guy who bumped into me at Reading went, "You can go to university, and at the end of it, we'll try and give you a staff job, or you can start writing now. And I didn't like school because school's all about discovering who you are and what you want to be. And I knew what I wanted to be. So I didn't have time for geography and history and French and maths and all that shit. I was going to be a music journalist and fuck you, right?
Yeah.
That's the story. They gave me a job and they offered me that, or they said you can work straight away. And I was done with school. And I also have learned massively that I definitely did the right thing there, because what people say and what people do are two very different things. So I just took the work, and that's been my job ever since.
That's absolutely crazy. The fact that you bumped into those guys doing an interview.
My first interview as well.
Yeah, just to prove to them that I'm still doing this, whether I was with you guys or not.
Yeah.
Is pretty.
2 years later as well. 2 years later,
wow.
So I must have made an impression that they remembered me, and I guess being quite boisterous and having this voice box, I guess I'm quite distinctive, but that was my first steps.
So this is the voice box is actually what I wanted to get into, because writing for a magazine and doing interviews and stuff like that. And then when was the transition to in front of the camera or in front of the microphone? How did that happen?
So I got one of the best bits of advice from old Metal Hammer publisher Chris Ingham. Said to me, when I was writing and I was trying to find my place in the magazine, I was improving my vocabulary and putting that in there. And my editor took me to one side and said, be the best you can be. Don't try and be like everyone else. Don't use the same words and cookie cutter fit the mold. Be the best you can be. And during my print life cycle, which was, I did print from 2002 to 2008 is when I started broadcasting as well as print. But in all that time, during that time, there was a UK magazine called Front, right? Which history doesn't look too kindly upon, because it was like a lads mag. But why I liked it was because the language used typing the interview was like we spoke. And I was really inspired by that. I was like, yeah, I can just, if you read 5 different paragraphs from 5 different writers and said, which one of those is Beez, you would know mine because of the language that I use and because of putting my personality in the words. But I would describe, my wife smashes me about this. I would describe myself as like a B+ writer. Like I might not necessarily be the guy that you would get to do cover stories, despite the fact that I've done a bunch of them. And again, this is just the way my brain is wired. But when it came to doing the Metal Hammer podcast, my editor at large, who sat next to me, was a guy called James Gill, and he really wanted to do a podcast. So I was like, okay, let me come up with the format and we'll go from there. So I provided the format, okay, intro, then we'll do the news, then we'll review a couple of records that are out this week. Like that's like the kind of basic template for the podcast in 2008.
This is early podcast. This is
2008.
It's not nobody's uploading to Spotify their podcast from their phone.
Spotify didn't exist when I started doing podcasting. No, I'm not even kidding. 2008. So and what the show was, and why I went into broadcasting was basically because I was more comfortable like this. Like I can't hang with the best writers. I can hang with the best broadcasters, and I felt that straight away. So it was just a natural transition. Plus also, and journalists don't like to hear it, but like people read less these days. Like the written word is a harder way to get your voice to be heard, which is my point in the first place. So if there is a way to amplify my voice beyond print, I'll do that. And that's what I did with the Metal Hammer podcast.
I have a question about editing and filtering. Because when I started this, the first thought that came to my head was, you're not going to be able to control Z anything. Like this is, if whatever happens on stream is what happens on stream. Professionally speaking, I was a video editor, so everything in my body told me like, you have to cut out all the ers and ums and everything. When you transitioned into broadcast, was any of that a thought, or was it so natural that it felt like writing was behind you completely?
Yeah, I don't believe in that stuff, man. It's all about if the audience feel you. Like, some people you hear and some people you feel. And that connection is what's important. And there's not an or an that's going to get in the way between that two things. I understand that train of thought, and that is probably the more professional way about going about it. But I just believe in human connection being worth more than any of that. And good taste in music, being able to bring people and thinking outside of your own tastes as well. Yeah. These are the things that matter.
If you did that, just called everything wrong and had really bad taste in music, it wouldn't be the same for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, people only gravitate towards that side of me. It's funny. I was on a football podcast with the singer from a pop punk band called Neck Deep recently. And he said, "You're a controversial. Actually, you're not really controversial." And I'm like, I'm not controversial. It's just everyone inside the business has to chase ad money, right? Yeah. They have to chase advertising money. So they are never going to tell you that things that are bad. Like they will swear blind to you that the new Foo Fighters album is good because they need to keep their lights on. But in the real world, it's not. So I only speak my mind. And what's more important to me when it comes to like the controversial side? She wasn't ready. They're never ready, unmuted fans. But to me, it's just having an opinion like anyone else out there. And I always have to stress this because people don't get it. Every time I push play on something, I want to like it. I'm about to spend 30, 40, 50, sometimes 70 minutes with a piece of your art. I'm not pushing play and wanting to not like it, you know?
Yeah. I think when it comes to music journalism, you guys. A lot of people think that it's especially if someone doesn't like something, like they're out to get them. Like, you know what I mean? But like you said, I think your first intention is to really enjoy all the hard work. That's why you got into this, as you said. You know, like that's kind of the thing.
If you see my so the biggest thing I do on Twitch, and the thing that is literally the highlight of my week, it's the best couple of hours of my whole week, is we do New Music Saturday, where I'll play you over 30 songs of like the best rock, metal, punk, hardcore, alternative, anything that is basically anything that would fit my idea of fitting our alternative culture gets played. And I think that if you see my reactions to when I like something versus when I don't, the extreme is in when I do like something and not when I don't. Like, you will see me that, like, the biggest clip that we've had on the channel was me hearing Killer Be Killed's single, Dream No More, last year. And I freaked. That bit where Max Cavalera comes in and like kicks in the door, waving the 4-4. It's just unbelievable. And that is my passion. It's not in going, this isn't very good, but also from the point of view of the artist has spent 6 months at least of their life on the bit of art that I might be saying is not good. It's why I always like to be constructive. You can't just say something shit. You can poke fun at it. Of course you can, because you've got to have a sense of humor about yourself. If someone doesn't like what I do, you know what I mean? That's fine. That's okay. If they think my voice is annoying or I'm too many words per minute or whatever, like I understand that. I know not everyone's going to like my stuff, but some artists are so surrounded by yes people that, you know, that when an opinion comes through past the advertisers and past the yes men to their doorstep, I can understand why it feels more extreme, because they are so far removed from the idea that what they do might not be great. Yeah. Like, I'll give you an example. Fuck it, I'll name the band. I was taken in to listen to That's the Spirit by Bring Me the Horizon ahead of the album coming out. Now, up until this point, I think Bring Me the Horizon were the most influential band in rock and metal. Like, when they did Suicide Season and they started incorporating those electronics and things like that, all of a sudden, a million of those bands started doing that kind of thing. Sorry, Suicide Season, it was all about the breakdowns, them and Parkway Drive. There Is a Hell was the electronics one, and then they did Sempiternal and like that kind of like metalcore Linkin Park thing, and then all the rest of their scene started doing that. So I thought they were one of the best bands in the world at that point in time. So I went into Here That's the Spirit, and I don't like that record, right? I'm not keen on that. I think Ammo's decent, and the EP that they brought out last year, pretty good. That some bands are just better at playing heavier music. It's not that they play heavy music and that's what we like. It's just maybe they're not so good at the stuff that isn't heavy. Anyway, so I'm in the offices like of their management company, hearing this album ahead of it coming out, and they come in at the end, and the guy goes, "What do you think?" And I was like, "It's a bit boring, isn't it?" And like, it was like, have you ever seen the Exorcism of Emily Rose? Like, it was like his face, like the skin fell off of his face, and it was just like, if you've ever thrown like water into a bit of electronics, it was like, cannot compute. What have you just said? And I was like, yeah, that's fine. That's all right. Like, do you know what I mean? They've still done all of these other wicked albums. Yeah. Like, that's like, this one album being a bit dull doesn't completely cancel out all this amazing stuff that they've done. But like, some people from that organisation made my life a living hell for a couple of years for daring to say that the album was only all right. It's wild, mate.
That's the beauty of it, is you have to be so comfortable with yourself internally, but also like with your opinion, right? Which in this day and age, I feel like a lot of people kind of steer clear from voicing their opinions. And we're talking specifically music. We're not talking about any of the things that can get you canceled. But to be in that position where you're expected to just be like, oh, I like it. Let me put my 2 cents on it. And just be like, no, I actually didn't. It takes a lot of confidence and comfort in yourself.
Yeah, I think you've got to have thick skin, and like, this sounds so fucking earnest, but I mean it. And the people that follow me know that it's not just a fucking pitch to make me sound like Miss Universe, but I do it for them. Like, those people deserve a voice. I am followed by people that love rock and metal more than people that work rock and metal every day of their life. They really care the way that I really care. It's why I believe that I'm a fan with a mic. So they're going to tell me the truth as well. And they tell me off, right? Sometimes on New Music Saturday, I'll bring something in and I think it's great, and they'll be like, no chance. And that, I like that as well. Like, they're hard to please. And I just believe this is what we're like as music fans, isn't it? Like Adnan fans out there, when you maybe don't like a record, you don't think, oh, I might not say that because someone will come and tell me off. You just say that, right? Yeah. So just because you silence the media doesn't mean you silence everyone, right? And then the media just looks dishonest because they're not reflecting how the people feel. So I care about honest media, and I believe that that's what I do. I bring you my feelings and how I feel, and I try my best. And I haven't always been good at this, but the last 3 years, I would say, I've got much better. Is I try not to be a dick about it as well. Like, I like, you can poke fun a bit, but this is work that actual humans have put their life, body, and soul into. Maybe don't say that it smells worse than a baby's bum. Like, you can keep that one to yourself, you know?
Honesty and tread light when it comes to at least calling it
constructive
newborn shit.
It's fun though, isn't it, to say that?
It is fun. Well, a lot of people from the Middle East have seen you and know you from Scuzz TV. Let's that thing was a behemoth in its own right, and the amount of people that you've interviewed and the amount of work you've done on that channel is it's kind of mind-boggling. Get us into Scuzz TV and how you started that whole journey.
So this is wild, right? I'd just taken a position as deputy editor of Rock Sound magazine. I felt that Rock Sound was the place to be that was pushing new bands, whereas Metal Hammer just wanted to tell you what was good about heavy metal back then and to keep you locked into heavy metal rules. And I never got into rock and roll to follow a rule book.
The tribe already knows there are very few elitists that come by because everyone doesn't give a shit.
That's it, man. Yeah. Right? So I'd just taken a job at Rock Sound and I was drunk at a festival about 2:30 in the morning. The Dillinger Escape Plan had headlined. So I was incredibly excitable, even for my usual standards. I was incredibly excited. And my friend at about 2:30 in the morning said to me, I need to talk to you about something serious for work. And I was like, now? Like off my tits. And they asked me, do you want to run Scuzz TV? And I couldn't believe my ears, because that's real influence. That's not, people have to pay to read a magazine, and in those pages, they might get to the bit that you've written and you might have some influence. Running a television channel, and they asked me to do that because of founding the Metal Hammer podcast. Like, once I found my feet as a broadcaster, I was quite in demand. So I went to Rock Sound, but then they asked me to run Scuzz TV, and I said yes. Scuzz Meets was my baby, my dream. I remember saying this with an ex-girlfriend in the Rainbow in Hollywood, where I now live, that I was like, I want to bring back Headbangers Ball, man. I want to do something that is like that, something that makes people feel this shit again. That was what I did when I went to Scuzz. I put forward the idea of Scuzz Meets, and they gave me the opportunity to make a pilot. In true me style, I saw an inch and took a mile. I made 2 pilots, one with my mate Jacoby from Papa Roach, and one with Serge Tankian from System of a Down. I mean, for decent start.
Yeah, swinging right out of the bat with the pilots.
I was lucky because Jacoby and I have known each other for years, so we put that one out first. We knew that the interview would be great because he's my mate, and our energies go well together. He's quite hyperactive like I am. So we did that one first, and interestingly enough, I'd only interviewed Serge Tankian once, and I'd had a really bad experience. And everybody who knows him was like, no way, man. Like, he's the nicest guy ever. You must have just caught him on a bad day. And that's the thing. Sometimes you catch people you love and people that are lovely on a bad day. We all have bad days. Like, and these stars are human too. So I'd only had a bad experience with Serge. So when him being the second one, I was like, shaking like a fucking washing machine. And they both went really well. And what I found from Scuzz Meets, and what I think is so profound about those interviews, is if you have the trust of the band, which it takes to build up, like, you probably won't get that trust in the first time you ever interview someone, probably. But you build a trust with them, and I totally just lost my train of thought. What was I just saying, Adnan?
Building trust with people that like the bands and the people behind the bands and how they open up to you.
Yes, okay. And what I found, that was what I was going to say. What I found was if you ask someone in the moment when they're having a bad time, right, like how they're doing, the chances are they'll go, I'm all right, and just move on, right, usually. Well, if you ask that same person 3 years later, you seem like you were really going through a bad time 3 years ago. They'll go, yeah, you're right. Like, it was fucking awful. I went through this and this and this because you've come through at the other end. Well, what I found with Scuzz Meets is we were getting definitive interviews on bands' entire careers. I wish to the stars above and everything below them that you had seen the unedited Scuzz Meets Deftones, because it was one of the most candid interviews and the one that went out there is revered and everyone loves it, and that's great. But if you had access to the things that they decided not to put on the channel because it was too controversial, which I respected and understood. Yeah. But what I have found is when you ask people about the past, so we were getting these interviews that were the definitive career interviews of Fall Out Boy, Paramore, Suicide Silence, like who else did I do? Of Mice and Men, Ronnie Radke, Serge Tankian, Avenged Sevenfold, Torn, fucking Phil Anselmo. Like, we were getting these interviews. And Phil Anselmo was a really interesting one, right?
I was just about to say, that one's very specific.
So, get this, Adnan. This is how, you know what I said earlier about crazy circumstances? Well, get this one. I was doing Scuzz Meets with Phil Anselmo on a Sunday afternoon. Had me working on a Sunday, honestly. And I put on Twitter, I'm really fucking nervous, and I don't get nervous often, but Phil is such a like, you can talk to 10 different people who've met Phil Anselmo and you'll get 10 different accounts of what Phil Anselmo's like, right?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
So
also,
I didn't...
For the people that have never met him, just as a figure, immediately intimidating.
An imposing figure, and a man who wields that like a weapon. Like, strong. That man weren't known for stronger than all for no reason. Yeah, absolutely. So I put on Twitter, I'm really fucking nervous about this. And my friend texted me going, Phil's a nightmare, man. He's been a nightmare on this whole run. Could you call me? And I was like, how? And this guy was Airborne's tour manager, the Australian band Airborne, who were mates of mine, right? So I called him and I was like, oh, mate, come on, tell me this ain't the truth. And he cracked up laughing. And he was like, I'm the tour manager for Down. Phil hates doing press. I'll go in and tell Phil that you're a top man before you do the interview and he'll be good as gold for you. And I was like, you are kidding me. So Phil comes out, right? And Phil's Phil, right? The pout and everything, the full Anselmo. And he was fucking great. It was a really brilliant hour, and I can only speak as I find. And I have interviewed in person Phil Anselmo 4 times. Mm-hmm. And again, I don't know if he recognises me because of my look and my voice or whatever, but every interview I've ever done with Phil Anselmo has been dynamite. And he's always been really nice and courteous to everyone from the crew and everyone around. So I get it. If people are done with Phil, I support the right to express yourself in that manner in any way that you can. But all I can do is tell you that I have met Phil Anselmo 4 times and he's been really nice all 4 times. Yeah, absolutely. When it comes to that stuff, I think we actually had a conversation about it last podcast where we were talking about separating the art from the artist and the discography that comes with Phil Anselmo versus what he did and what he said, all that stuff, and it's. How do you feel about it, Adnan? Because you should be answering this, not me, right? For me, I've already said that I think
I think I could separate the art from the artist. I could listen to
Me
Pantera without necessarily thinking of that moment in time where Phil said some dumb shit, really racist, horrible shit on stage, which makes him. He could be a bad person, but it doesn't take away from the beauty that was Pantera and the music and everything that he's done up until, and not just that point, even the stuff that he's done after, because he's, as an artist, is a douchebag or an asshole or racist or whatever it is, but the art is still the art. I still enjoy it. Thank you, Derby.
Yes. See, here's my take on it, right? I call it the Star-Lord principle, right? Mm-hmm. In Guardians of the Galaxy, Star-Lord, when they take his tape from him, says they are my songs, right? And that's how I feel when I hear music. What they mean to me and how they make me feel is of the utmost importance to me as a music fan, right? Yeah. If people are bad people, I can exercise my right to not support them financially while 100%. Not intentionally hurting myself by not listening to that music. Those songs are mine, and whatever anyone does. And there are some things go so far that you can't, like, the feeling isn't there anymore, right?
Yeah.
Like, I used to feel that way about Lost Prophets. I could never listen to Lost Prophets again, right? Yeah. There are lines to this, but other things, like, I might be able to listen to and enjoy because they are for me, and then I don't necessarily have to put money in their pocket. Or if I choose to put money in their pocket, that's my decision and I should be respected for it, like I respect your decision to say, fuck that guy and we don't listen to him anymore. 100%
agree with you. And the cancel culture thing in general is something that we've discussed on the show before, but I disagree with the idea of, like, dude, if there was cameras around when I was a fucking teenager, I'd be canceled right now. Like, there's the shit we got up to.
We're human. We're human.
It's growth, right? Yeah.
We're human and we're flawed, and we should, as long as we are spending our life trying to iron out our flaws. If you only sharpen things that are bad about yourself, then I don't know what to tell you. But everyone should be, should be allowed to be their own people.
Yeah. We have a question from Derpy. She used the question redeem question for both on the topic of art versus artist. Does that also count if you know the lyrics of a song, talk about something you're super opposed to? You go first.
Good question. I think, again, like, we could, unless something is as on the money as everything I know goes away in the end, right? As long as it's not something as direct bullseye as that, usually lyrics are open to interpretation as well. If you absolutely know, like, if someone has been done for sexual abuse and their song sings about sex and that makes you feel creepy, like, that's completely understandable. But I think that quite often, you could just get bogged down in that stuff. Yeah. And I prefer to try and find joy in music. And I wish the world would get a little bit less. I wish I could open my timeline and not see a sea of people telling me how I should live my life. What's right for us and how we live our life isn't necessarily right for everyone else. Why don't we just try and make the best of it?
Absolutely. And we were talking about horror films before. We were talking about all that stuff. I love this quote from the what was it, Warfield DVD, where they interviewed a fan. They're like, why do you listen to Slayer? And he said, dude, it's just like a horror film. Like, it could be a scary little bit of an hour. Thank you, Danny, for the clap. And if you don't like it, just turn it off. Like, it could be make believe for a bit. And I feel that way about music. It could just be something about things that whatever their intention was, I interpreted it in this way. And like you said, whether I decide to financially support them or not is a different thing. But Bloodstockfest said, I wasn't a fan of Lost Prophets anyway, but you can't blame the rest of the band. Horrific for them. I read far too much detail about the case, though. And then a sad face after that. Yeah.
Yeah, my friend is Mike Lewis, from Lost Prophets, who's now in a band called No Devotion, and he had Ian as the best man at his wedding. So all of his wedding photos are fucked and all the rest of it. And I can tell you this for certain: no one hates Ian Watkins more than the other members of the Lost Prophets.
Yeah.
No one.
Yeah. You know what this makes me think of, especially having talked about all the interviews that you've done, and you just casually calling people a friend of mine that are like massive rock stars and stuff. What are, because I've been doing this for a year, and I would have never guessed that asking people to talk about themselves would make me learn more about myself.
That's amazing.
It's been before this. I play in a band, but I've only been on stage, and I've never had the opportunity to sit down and have long, lengthy conversations with people from around the world. So it completely changed my perspective. Has interviewing people and being on that side of the fence for as long as you have, calling people like Jacoby and Serge Tankian and the guys from Airborne friends, and what has that taught you about yourself, if anything?
These people are human and they should be treated as such. I'll tell you a really good story that Dallas Green from Alexis on Fire told me. Dallas told me that he was no longer taking photos with people. And I asked him why. And he was like, because people treat me like a high score on a video game. They won't come up and ask me how my day is. They won't want to talk to me about anything. They just want a photo that they can then put on the internet to make them feel good. Yeah. And I think that the biggest thing that I have learned is that all of these people are just people. All of them. They all piss, shit and fart like we do. And it's easy to forget that, isn't it? Take a second right now, everybody. Think about, in the chat, tell me who your favourite rock star is, and now imagine them sitting on the John having a poo, right? Because that's what they're going to do today. At some point, that rock star in your head is going to take a poo today, just like everybody else. And I think having that has been the best connection that I've found with bands, because so many people treat the bands like they're deities, right? And I don't think that, some of the bands like that, but not all of them. And I think that once you relate to people on a really human level, what it taught me is that we're all one here, and we're all here at this one point in time trying to make the best of it. And these people are doing that to put art out that they hope that you enjoy. And sometimes that's done cynically, because it's like, I am putting art out there and I hope you make me richer. But the better people are, I'm doing this and I hope you are entertained by what I do. I hope I can bring happiness to your day. And that's a really inspiring thing, I think.
That's amazing. It reminded me of a stand-up comedy. The name escapes me. Dan something, you guys in the chat, if you know. He says things like that remind you that everyone, like you said, shits, pisses, farts, and somewhere in the world, Halle Berry is clenching her Oscar sitting on the shitter, going, this is not a good day. That kind of dates the stand-up comedy, saying Halle Berry, but that was the line, and I was like, that image is engraved in my brain right now.
I gotta give high fives to whoever hit the shit emoji at that point in time. Well done.
Oh man, that's amazing. But yeah, it's been, like I said, it's been an eye-opening journey for me. I was fortunate enough to like meet a lot of our heroes, either on the road or because they played Dubai or something like that. But it's a completely different world when you sit down and have a conversation with someone. Like you said, it's people. People are people. It's pretty fucking amazing. You build an intimacy as well, don't you, Adnan? When you're doing these interviews and you're asking deep questions, you just naturally feel a warmer bond towards that person, I think. 100%. And it's one of those things, just specifically because of the length of the conversation and the way we have it. I've bumped into people that were on episode 2 and 3 and stuff like that, and the catch up is completely different, because like you said, seeing them for the second time or the third time and saying, oh man, remember that thing you said? How's that doing? It completely brings a different dynamic to it.
Yeah, and I've got 20 years of that coming up in February of 2022. I'll have been doing this for 20 years.
Wow, man! Congratulations.
Thanks, man. And I'm only 37, right? So, like, I've been quite lucky to lead the life that I have, and it's funny that you say about friends, because I don't keep many friends in bands, because if I'm out here being honest, that's always going to affect the relationship, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you're just like, you know, does that make sense?
It does. It absolutely does. It'll be a lot harder to look your friend in the face and be like, you're that review. That.
So yeah, like, and because of that, like, it just stops that. It stops me forming that bond. But not always, because sometimes you meet people who don't care about jobs, because you're not just two people in the music industry friends, you're friends in real life. So, like, two people always come to mind when I think of, like, people that are like my friends. If I went on to be Terry, the bin man, right? Or like Terry, the guy who works in the shop.
Yeah,
I know Winston from Parkway Drive and Will from Creeper are always going to be my friend, right? We're friends. It's not just a music business thing. And with a lot of it, it's we like each other because I help get their art over, and I like their art. So that's almost the friendly transaction that you have in those moments, and it doesn't cheapen it. Like, it's still warm and we still have this connection, but, you know, friends are few and far between. Jacoby's another one. Like I went and saw Scarlord with him and his son here. Like, that's when he's off the road. So it's a bit different, but yeah, like, I don't like to make a habit of it.
So you said here, I don't know if a lot of people from the tribe know this, but you're based in LA now.
Yeah, man.
You've been based. How long have you been there?
4 years. It was in March. So yeah, just over 4 years.
4 years in LA. What was there a reason for the switch? Was there a calculated kind of approach, or is it just family moved over there? We're all moving over there, kind of thing.
I felt that I'd done everything in England. Mm-hmm. I had deputy edited a magazine. I had founded the Metal Hammer podcast. I worked for Metal Hammer, which was the magazine that I wanted to write for when I was a teenager. I'd been the host of Download Festival, like, which is insane to me. Donington Park, Monsters of Rock, like, fucking Download. And I was the host of that for a bunch of years. Scars TV, I'd run a television channel. I'd been on radio. I mean, fuck, I was part of that whole Team Rock debacle. But I was on radio for them. So I just got to the stage where in England, I felt like I'd done everything, and I wanted to have a crack at America, because to me, what happens here then trickles around the rest of the globe. Yeah. If a band makes it big in America, chances are they're going to be big everywhere else. Yeah. So if I'd done as much influencing in the UK as I could possibly do, when I started That's Not Metal podcast, and we impacted things so much that when I was complaining, we impacted things so much that when I was complaining about just telling people the truth, right? Saying, look, the reason you see 4 and 5 out of 5 album reviews for albums that everyone knows is terrible is because they need the advertiser money. Or it will be like, all right, if you slag off this band, we won't give you this band and this band in the future. Like, it's all political. When I started saying that, 4 out of 5 reviews for albums in those major publications suddenly went down to 3 out of 5s. And 8 out of 10s went down to 6 out of 10s. Yeah. So that was the level of influence that I felt I had at that point in time. But I've always wanted that. And if you come to America and you can crack it here, which, you know, I truly believe I will. You can bring people better music than they are being serviced, because I believe the machine is broken in terms of digital service providers like Spotify or Apple Music and all those kind of things. A lot of the press, not all of the press, but a lot of the press, I always think just don't do enough of, the document speaks for itself on this one. They haven't done enough of a job making a big deal of today's bands. Because otherwise we wouldn't be sitting here going, who's the next headliner and who's the next big band, right? In hip hop, an album will come out and they'll say, that's a classic, straight away, straight out 100%. The gate. So why the fuck are we not all saying Gojira? That's a classic. Because that's a classic record. If you like heavy metal, if you like heavy music, there is something on that record that will blow your skirt up over your head. Like, I believe that we have to do better at that sort of thing, and we have to do it while being honest. And that is big bands make bad albums, and small bands deserve to be treated like superstars. I would treat Jamie Morgan from Code Orange exactly the same as I would treat Trent Reznor. In terms of coverage, in terms of front of everything I do, you gotta push Courtney from Spirit Box as a star, you push, I don't know, Gerard Way as a star.
Yeah, I love that. Absolutely. And like I was telling you earlier, that's kind of the premise of why I started this thing, just to shed some light on the Middle Eastern scene. And just even if nothing else, just have the bands and the artists here a platform where they can create content, clip a little thing about them talking about the album for them to post on their social media, because it doesn't exist here outside of bigger and smaller bands. This thing does not exist here at all, which I think is.
And we are in a position, like I read this amazing feature about the globalization of music. It was really fascinating about how the internet and the fact that in the mid-90s, over the course of the last 25 years, like the digital landscape has kind of engulfed the planet. Yeah. And it makes communication global. But that takes some time for civilization to truly acknowledge that that's what we do. And you can see it in the pop charts. Like what used to be One Direction is now BTS, right? Yeah. It's about what is the best pop art on the globe. And I think that it's cool when metal does that. Like we've had someone played, I forget what the country was, but someone came in and played something and it was astounding. Someone in your chat will remind me. But and also your music. Trish Torch coming on and playing Svengali, mate. Like that's amazing. That's something that we should embrace. And I spend my Friday nights, right? It's my favorite fucking thing. And it's work. I get to call it work now. On a Friday night, about 10:30 p.m., I will stay up late and listen to music until 2 a.m. All music that's come out in the last 7 days. And I will find the best that I can possibly find to play for you every Saturday. Yeah. And what inspires me the most within that is some of the shit that gets missed, right? There's a two-piece on Century Media called Bala, B-A-L-A, from Spain. Mm-hmm. And the press haven't touched it, right? And they are two women from Spain that make eclectic metal. It's savage at times. Like my favorite moments in it is where it sounds like a bar brawl in a Quentin Tarantino movie. But with added distortion. They are real fucking good. But it's that, knowing that there's this two-piece in Spain. Someone in the chat, Punk Drummers, reminded me that the band was from Pakistan and they were called Tak Attack.
Yeah, right, we love those, man.
Right, fucking, well, that hadn't come across my radar. And I spend my fucking life doing this. And I love that, man. I love bumping into something that is, I mean, look at me. I'm literally jumping in my seat at even the thought of it. And that's my Friday nights into Saturday. Like, it's always got to be about moving our culture forward and giving something for everyone. Like, I hate this thought, Adnan, that if you only listen to rock and metal, like, you're small-minded. Bullshit. I could name you 60 different genres within that framework that sound nothing like one another. So we're not closed-minded at all. We're just swimming in a massive ocean that's awesome. And even someone who swims in it for a job can't see everything. And the fact that we are now globalized and that we can now bring Gala and Svengali and Tack Attack and that kind of thing, you should find that inspiring and not just be out there talking about what major labels are paying you to talk about.
Is the globalization aspect of it, because you have videos up on YouTube from 10 years ago of you doing interviews, of you giving reviews. Is it something that you kind of foreshadowed? Did you know that it would go in this direction, or was it something that you were more hopeful about? Like, I'm just going to put this up on YouTube because someone else might watch it someday.
I think that when I was younger, I didn't think as deeply about it. I was just so enraptured at the fact that, wow, this is my life, that I didn't think the bigger questions. It was when I started doing the Metal Hammer podcast and you started reaching more people that started forming. So me and my co-host Gil, basically we weren't happy at the direction that Metal Hammer was taking. And like, we really didn't like it. We were younger than the people that were running the magazine, and the people that were running the magazine just wanted to tell you how good the 90s and the 80s were. And we were like, it's good right here, right now. Like, live in the now and you won't believe what you'll pick up. So it was almost like we went into the basement to have our own voice, and we did have our own voice. We were like a brand within a brand. Does that make sense? Like Metal Hammer magazine was doing like Iron Maiden and all, or like that kind of thing, right? And they were trying to get people to care about Saxon again, and that was their vibe. And me and Gil were like, we love Every Time I Die and Alexis on Fire and Converge and fucking All Pigs Must Die and Mammoth Grinder, and fucking, we liked things that were outside the walls of rock and metal as well. We liked hard rock and grunge and pop punk and stuff like that. So I was talking about A Day to Remember and things like that. That was our passion. That was our escape. And once that started happening, I realized what a voice I had. And I always believe in being responsible with that voice. Because if lots of people listen to you, you can't be a prick, you know? Mm-hmm. You can be a critic, and sometimes people don't appreciate the honesty, but just don't be a prick with that voice is the big thing. So I'm not sure if that answers your question, but like... It
does, absolutely.
Right, okay, cool.
Absolutely. And speaking of a little bit of questions, before we jump in, I want to talk about your switch to Twitch and all the new stuff that you got going on. But I'm going to power through some of the questions these guys sent our way.
You got it.
Iman says, what do you think about the criticism of not having enough female acts at Download?
I believe every music festival will book the best artists that they can possibly book, and I'm not sure that they would sit and make sure that, and how many is enough is subject to the eye of the beholder, right? Yeah. And what I have found about a certain subsect of the internet is it's never enough, right? And I just believe that what is happening in heavy music at the minute is I've loved rock and metal since the mid-90s, and there has never been more great female rock and metal being made than right now. I believe the biggest genius in rock and metal right now in the contemporary scene is Chelsea Wolfe. Some of the most affecting albums I've heard in recent years. Oathbreaker, and the upcoming Spirit Box album. The band that kick-started the UK. The UK was in a really bad place, and it was just loads of kind of ASOS, American Eagle model-looking dickheads making really bland cheese-on-toast music. And then Marmozets took a bazooka to that. Like, there has never been more of that. And I think that is something that is just coming to the fore now. And I would say, if this is still the case in 2 years, that there isn't enough female bands at Download, then we should all be kicking off about it. Yeah. But at the moment, that is still becoming the norm, right? Mm-hmm. It's trickling through, and that messaging is still on its way through. It's not there yet. That's my take.
Awesome. Hopefully that answers your question, Iman. We got Bloodstock Festival asking, what would you class as being success for you in America, Beez? What is one thing you'd love to do there?
An ex-girlfriend of mine when I was a teenager said one of the most accurate things that has ever been said about me and has stayed with me to this day. And she was like, you'll always struggle to be happy because when you plant the flag, instead of enjoying it and planting the flag, you pick up another flag and go, right, where are we planting this flag? So I have ironed that out of my game. And I can't, in good faith, tell you that having only been here for 4 years and having done something like, I hosted Corey Taylor's live stream last year. I've known him for years. His wife is fucking incredible. Really good bunch of people. And I can't even put into words how honoured I was to do that. But more than that, I've fallen in love with Los Angeles so much. And I've been looking for somewhere to put that love when it comes to LA. And it turns out that it's the basketball team, the Los Angeles Lakers. I've fallen head over heels in love with the Lakers. And I presented the Corey Taylor live stream exactly where the court was, where all the Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, like the basketball rival of the 80s that formed the NBA being a bigger deal before leading into Michael Jordan and the rest of it, to stand on the Lakers' original ground, hosting like someone who I'm very warm towards, who's the singer of Slipknot's live show, even if that's all I ever did, I would consider it a success. But what do I consider a success is having influence. I want to be here and I want to stop what is going on here. I think that there is a principle that you have to write songs for the radio that exists in every corner of our industry, and it is my job to annihilate that. That has got to go because it's killing our genre, right? The thing about rock music is that it's chaos. So hair metal, right, got taken out by alternative rock. Out of nowhere, all these scuzzy, shitty bands from Seattle that were only playing to 200 people suddenly wiped out hair metal. And what came after these miserable bastards that made grunge music, right? I love all that shit, but just to make my point, was pop punk. Green Day and The Offspring turned up, the complete opposite to it. And then what turned up after that? Nu metal, like jocks and that kind of thing, replacing punk rockers. And what came after nu metal? Like misogynistic lyrics and all the rest of it. Bam, emo came after that. Right? That's rock music. That's chaos. And that is when we ruled the world. That was when we were on the front page of the mainstream, right? So we stopped that. When Linkin Park happened, people started, in America, there is an idea that there is a sound, right? There is a sound that makes you become successful. You'll know that sound because all your bands take that sound when they don't really believe in their art enough to make themselves successful, and then they start making music like it, right? Five Finger Death Punch are honest about their art. That's who they are. That's the band that they are, right? But the millions of clones that come in their wake is all they want to play at radio out here, man. Like, if you can look me in the eye in 2021 and with a straight face tell me that Breaking Benjamin and Chevelle deserve more of a chance than Teenage Wrist, The Dirty Nil, like whoever. Insert your own bands here, right? That's the vibe. Yeah. That's what I would like to do. Is I would like to take a sledgehammer to the idea that unless you have a sound that just sounds like a hot dog, like it's just fucking couldn't be more cookie cutter American, like, and I don't believe the American people want it either, right? I don't believe that. Like, I don't believe that what they all want is pop evil and that's it. Right? That you can like that stuff. I like a bunch of bands that are in that world. I like a bunch of radio rock. I said about Papa Roach. I like Disturbed. I like a whole bunch of that. I like Five Finger Death Punch. Don't agree with their politics. Don't like their videos. Do like the band. Yeah. Right? But there's more to life than that. When I do New Music Saturday, I make it my point. If something is making waves in power metal, right? I don't like power metal at all. It's not my vibe, right? But I will always play it because it has a place. Yeah. And we've got to remember that rock and metal is a broad thing, and rock music is chaos. And when we embrace that chaos, when we embrace being, listen to the word, look at it in the dictionary, when we embrace being alternative and not mainstream, instead of trying to make alternative mainstream, we prosper. And there's 100%. Too many people with too much skin in the game, making too much noise and making bands change their sound. You can hear it. You're not silly. And they think you are, the audience. They think you won't notice. They'll think, oh yeah, that's just what they wanted to do with their art. Is it though? Is it though? Or is it the only way they can get their music heard? And that's a problem. And that's a problem that I would like to eradicate.
Dude, chat, we need a clap. We need a clap in the chat, you guys. Someone that was fucking brilliant, dude. That was
Sorry,
absolutely...
man. That's how I feel. That's literally why I came to the country.
But see, this goes back to the very first thing I said. The passion that you have is unlike anything else I've ever seen. Unlike anything else I've ever seen. And I've done my fair share of watching interviews, reviews, reading a bunch of things from magazines and websites, and the amount of stuff that you bring to the table, just in terms of passion and the fact that you fight so hard for this, is it's very rare to see. It's very rare to see.
They think I'm mad, Adnan. They think I'm mad. Honestly, they think I'm mad. I was told recently, you could just shut up, interview whatever band is put in front of you, and just live live a top life if you wanted to. And I'm like, I don't. That's not why I got into it. I didn't get into this to be someone or for any other reason than the reasons it's not a game to me. I don't say that stuff because it's the right thing to say to make people think that I am the real deal. Like, I'm the real deal. That's why I kind of move around a lot, because I've found that it's not for everyone. I'm willing to work and I'm willing to bend, but I'm not willing to bend on my principles. And that's everything to me, man. We got to help these bands, because if we don't, they sure as fuck ain't.
Yeah. Holy fuck, that was amazing, you guys. That's perfect. But you really do go above and beyond for that stuff. And I kind of wanted to talk about. I don't know how to put it in. You're like a serial content creator. There's an idea that pops in. There's the podcast, the Beez Says. There's the reviews or even the YouTube videos where the one I loved the most was 5 albums that I completely got wrong. It was just albums that I caught. The amount of stuff you put out there is very inspiring. But I wanted to talk a little bit about your journey into more heavily online than it has been in previous years. What was moving to LA and being like, let's start Twitch channel? What was the thought behind that process? When did that all go down?
A record label asked me to do their Twitch a couple of years ago, just after I arrived. and I had such a good thing going with my podcast. I was like, maybe some point down the road, maybe. But it planted the seed. And I looked at Twitch and I didn't see anything that I found particularly inspiring. If you're a pro wrestling fan out there, like I am, when the indies first announced All In, all the independent wrestlers, Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega and all these people put on an event in Chicago called All In. And they did their press conference on Twitch, right? And I had a look around and I didn't see much that inspired me. Just after lockdown.
A few years ago? After lockdown?
Yeah, no, this was a couple of years ago. And then just after lockdown, I had a look again and I bumped into a content creator on here called Le French Stallion, who I think is really good. I think he's naturally very charismatic. He's really funny. But I saw a way of interacting with people with no red tape in a manner that was different to what I had done before, in which was I review a record, then you go and listen to that album, right? That's cool. But when a big album comes out now, you can literally sit with me and listen to the album. And when it plays, I can tell you what I think about it. And I can say, these are the bits where I'm talking about with the bass guitar lines. And I encourage people to get good audio setups because there's so much that you can hear in music if you've got the equipment to do so. Like if you love music, save up and invest in some good headphones. Like, because you can then hear fucking cool shit and you get to do that with me. And I love that. I love being closer to the people that support me. Like I know my audience's music taste now. My audience are no longer my audience. We feel like a gang. Like we feel like and I don't want to talk for them, but I like to think it feels like we stand for something. You know,
we just got a good headphone gang in the chat as well.
Yeah, there you go. But I like to think that we stand for something, and the principles that I put forward are things that other people are mad about. And it now just feels like we are part of something rather than I am creating for you. And that's what it's all about. Like, I'm an only child. I grew up quite lonely. And if there's anything that you can look into psychologically with me, is I like to build community. When you said about I'm a serial content creator, what I realized recently is that I need to focus my efforts, because just because I can do all these things don't mean that I should be doing all these things. There are only so many hours in a day. Take everything you do and whack it into this thing, and this thing is Twitch, because I love it here, man. Look at us now. Like I'm talking to people in the United Arab Emirates. When you posted that, Adnan, I put it out on my Facebook this morning, on my personal Facebook, like so just my friends and families would see it. Yeah. But it blows my mind that I am from a real working class area. I walk like I'm about to punch someone because I'm really short, and the area that I grew up in, you had to give off that air or you might get jumped. Like that's the kind of place where I grew up. And I believe that getting to, when you posted it on Instagram, and people in the comments, I mean, the excitement was all for you, but the people in the comments section know who the fuck I am. It blew my mind. This is the sort of thing I tell my mum and dad about. Do you know what I mean? My mum and dad's like, he listens to heavy metal for a living. I don't know what to tell you. But when I say, yeah, but people all over the world like give a fuck that I exist, that's what an amazing thing. And we're all globalized, and people like you and me and Daniel Decay and the Fonts and all these people that are here have created a community that is so anti what I am used to from the media. We fucking love this, and I want you to succeed, and I want Daniel Decay to succeed, and I want to succeed myself, because here we can create a haven for people that like rock and metal for the right reasons. If you're alone, like I spent my childhood being quite alone, right? I'm an only child. All my friends lived at my nan's house. I only got to see them on a Friday and a Saturday. You can create this thing that is bigger than ourselves, and that's fucking great, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hey,
It's so
there you
cool.
go. There's Crackers with a clap. Dude, it's for me, it's been one of those things. Like I said, I started it because there's a pandemic. I kind of have a production background. I know how to cut the camera from one guy to the next. Yo, thank you for the party lights and the fire. And when it started happening, like I've obviously been very passionate about music and being a musician myself and all that stuff. But everything you just said, like about the community side of it, is every single day I wake up, I'm just like, I can't believe this is a thing. Like, there are people that are sending each other their own music. There are people sharing things they liked. There are people posting pictures of their cats, and everyone's like, hey, that's fucking cool. Just the fact that even exists, it blows my mind completely.
Yeah, a bunch of our lot have started streaming themselves, and they all do different things. And Elliot Lever from our chat, who does bits and pieces of music business, was interviewed for a podcast today. Like, and
amazing.
I get buzzing on that like it's my good news, man. Like, it's so cool. It's so cool, and it's so what I like to believe I'm about as a person, which is encouraging everyone to be passionate about the things that they love, and to also the kind of main catchphrase that I push, which is support the things you love. Like, if you love things, it needs your support to be nurtured and grown. And we're creating something amazing here amongst us all. Like what Chainbrain's doing now, DW Presents is in the house as well. On this side of the continent, my mate Bobby from Blackcraft bizarrely now does a fucking show on here with Wes Borland from Limp Bizkit. Wild. Like, that these things exist it's inspiring. And like, I had an idea for a show this morning, mate, that I think is really, really cool. And I know there's no red tape. Like, we could do that idea next week if we wanted to. Yeah. And someone said to me, it's better to be a pirate than work for the Navy. And that's a good line, that.
The one that I love on your channel is you recently posted about it on YouTube as well. It's the music battle. Like, if you
Song
pick
Wars.
Song Wars. You pick a specific genre or a specific kind of theme, and then you put songs head to head, and the chat votes. That wouldn't have been possible on any other platform. Absolutely not possible.
Yeah, it's and that is like, New Music Saturday is the most important thing that I do. But Song Wars is the highlight of my week, which is we've got a wheel that's got like 50 categories on it. And two, maybe we go 3-way dance, maybe we go fatal 4-way, but we spin that wheel, and it'll land on something like, it could be women from the 80s, or it could be metalcore, or it could be hardcore, or whatever it lands on. And the two people that are chosen, or whoever is in the battle, fight it out, and the chat votes on who wins. And the things that it has thrown up, like, we did Ballads came up, and it ended up November Rain by Guns N' Roses versus Dream On by Aerosmith. My head hurt for about an hour after. Does not compute. Songs from movies. We had someone pick I Disappear by Metallica from Mission Impossible 2, and then it was flattened by Kenny Loggins. Away to the danger zone from Top Gun, right? And it's such a laugh. And we've got our own champions, and we're about to have tomorrow, our 24/7 title is up for grabs. So we're going to have 2 belts. I can see Parker in your chat holding his belt aloft, not a euphemism. He's our champion. But there's going to be a 24/7 coming up, man.
Awesome.
I love it. Thank you for digging on the idea, but I've got an idea, and I'll DM you about it afterwards.
Absolutely. I wanted to use that as a stepping stone, because having these ideas, having that community, having the direct to viewer kind of connection, what if any, is there a home work balance kind of thing? How do you take a break? You were saying, you want to kind of focus in instead of being that serial content creator. How does it work for you? And I'm asking this selfishly because I have no idea how to stop at this point. It just feels like it's kind of everything I'm doing right now.
Yeah, I think it's all relative. Like if I'm working from 9 o'clock in the morning till 2 o'clock in the morning, like you can't do that. You will burn out. Like, and I feel like everything that I can do, I can put into Twitch at the moment. I'm not adverse to taking other jobs. I'm not adverse to other things coming out, but I can do what I want within the framework of this thing. And it's like, to me as a content creator, it's like hooking a fish, right? You know when something works. So Song Wars, when we've started doing it, everyone fucking loves it. There's a real feel in the air on the stream. Chaos Friday it's basically just turned into a free-for-all. Like the inmates run the asylum. It's quite often that the chat are just playing what's on the channel, and the New Music Saturday thing as well. But the other days, Tuesday and Wednesday, I think I've got something for Monday that is our Metallica thing, but we nearly got a distributor for that, but that's for another day. But
the podcast, I saw that one.
Yeah, after I've been on with you, I'm going to go live because we're doing this thing at the moment where I pick up 2 old music magazines and we go through it and play the bands, and you'll find new old bands, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. It's still new music to you, even if it's from the past. But yeah, I don't know if that will work, and if it does, then it will stay on Wednesdays, and if not, we'll throw out some other ideas. And I'm hyperactive, so I might not be the person to ask about switching off, because it's all relative for me. Like me not talking about work for 2 hours is about as switching off as it gets. Because I'm lucky, man. Like my passion is rock and metal, and that's my job. So that saying about you'll never work a day in your life if you love the thing that you work on is kind of true. And it can get you down, and the business can throw you horrible curveballs and all this kind of thing. But the love for rock and metal is always the reason to keep going, and you can just filter out things. Just because you can do it all doesn't mean it's all worth doing. Put it through a funnel, and in the end, you will have something that is, everything is good, everything excites everyone, and everything can grow from here.
Absolutely. I also have a question. I know that one of the patrons wanted to ask before we jumped on here. How do you not quit in the down times, in the rough times, in the hardest stuff? Having done it for 20 years, what was the motivation behind keeping going when things got tough?
I'll tell you, man, it's the hardest thing is when sometimes it's hard when everyone tells you that you're mad, right? Which they do, wanting to do what I want to do with rock and metal rather than just playing the game and saying that everything is brilliant and doing a cheesy smile for the camera and a thumbs up. But it's not who I am. And you always have to think about who you're doing it for. And that is I do it for myself because I love this music and because I want to have my voice heard. That's the part of it that I do it for myself. But we created something, man. And people believe in what I'm doing. And I like to think people believe in what I'm doing because I can't get it elsewhere. And if I'm not there, who's going to do it? And there's always a spark to find. And I know it's a mad thing to say, but this is so LA, because if I'd never have done this when I was in London, but I've really I got into meditation about 3 years ago. And what I have found it helps to do is it helps to reinforce who you are, why you're doing the things that you do, and see the bigger picture. And there's times where I think to myself, am I mad for doing this? Mm-hmm. I'm 30. I'm 37, right? I've still got the second half of my life ahead of me, hopefully. And I can't quit. Like when I get into that headspace and I stop all the negativity, all of the noise, and I truly believe that like, if you're not going to take the criticism to heart, you shouldn't take the praise to heart as well. Mm-hmm. But when you're in that silent spot and all the bullshit is filtered, you come to the conclusion that really exists in you. And every time I look at what exists in me, I see the will to move forward, because I believe I do something worth doing. And maybe people see value in that, maybe people don't, but I think I'm doing something that will break through in the end. I can't have the question, is rock dead, coming up again and again and again when I play you 30 plus songs every week, and at least 5 or 6 of them usually are incredible. Like they're really, really good by any standards. Just because the press aren't getting them to you don't mean they're not there. And Absolutely. That's my responsibility. And those bands deserve an audience. Absolutely. And that is the motivation for me that keeps me going, is I'm doing this for the right reasons. I'm doing it for me, I'm doing it for them, and I'm doing it for the people that support us both. So that's the motivation in truth.
Hell yeah, dude. Absolutely. And from my perspective, it was one of those things as well. It was just someone saying, oh, fuck, you played this band, and I went and bought their album on like episode 5 of doing this stuff. And I was like, holy shit, that's
it.
You enjoyed it. I showed you a random band from halfway across the world in the desert, and you went and supported it. And now they're part of his like playlist and checks them out and supports them. It's kind of crazy.
That's it. Support the things you love. If you like something, support it. Like when I'm like, hey, help with this hype train, it's because I need to keep the lights on.
Yeah.
It's people need to, and if people don't see the value in it, I accept that too, right? Yeah. Like if you don't see the value in it, I respect that opinion as well. But you know, if you don't buy a Menzinger's record, they might not get to make another record until someone pushes this forward, you know?
Yeah. Is it as difficult for you as it has been for me when it comes to that the hype train and the bits and the gifted subs and that stuff? I'm slowly transitioning into well, I mean, I do this kind of full time now because there's no other thing, but slowly transitioning into accepting the fact that this is the thing we do now.
Yeah, I do feel awkward about it.
I still don't know how to handle it. How is it for you?
I like to try and give value. Is the best that I can do, man. Like, and the thing is, as the channel has started to grow more, which it has, right? That we get more regular people. We've got our gang, but there's more people that come to that all the time. There's a guy called Angelus that starts coming in now, a guy called Bronson that starts coming in now. Like, there's more people coming all the time. And if that means more is coming in, then I want to give back. The winner of our 24/7 title tomorrow night on my channel wins a pair of these bad boy headphones that I use. And like when I'm telling you high caliber audio, so I'm going to start giving things like that away. But the prospect of, hey, can you pay me? Like sucks. Like I'm awkward about it as well. So I try to find fun things that is beyond that. But I love the fact that I've got an understanding audience. I've said support the things you love about other people, right? And that also kind of applies to what I'm doing. Support the things you love wasn't like, hey, fucking buy me a new pair of Jordans. Like support the things you love was about buy bands, buy T-shirts and records, because otherwise they might not be able to exist. And
exactly.
That applies to us as well, man.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I just we did a little graphic and said, like, if you want to keep this thing alive, there are a couple of options. There's a Patreon, there's a bunch of different things, but just having that direct to supporter kind of channels is very new to me. So I wanted to get your take on that.
Yeah, it's odd, isn't it? It's odd, isn't it? Like, just as a concept, it's odd. So I understand the awkwardness, was all I was going to say.
We got a bunch of questions in the queue. John's Music Box. What's up, John's Music Box? If you guys like guitar playthroughs, jump in John's box. We always say that in here. Is Rock dead? What a dick. Don't jump in John's box.
I've got an answer for this, John. You'll dig this. What we have gone through, and forgive the weight of the words that I'm going to use here, what we've gone through is rock genocide. And that is, if you look at Spotify's Rock This playlist, it will make you never want to listen to a guitar as long as you live, right? The second that they let 21 Pilots in the door, I'm not hating on 21 Pilots at all, right? Mm-hmm. My only point is that they're not a rock band, right? If you really fucking like their music, fair fucks, good for you. And if you like Imagine Dragons and that sort of stuff, that's fine. But that should be in contemporary pop. Yeah. Like, rock music is supposed to, I don't know, rock, right? If you see what they have the alternative to. So we are fighting that rock genocide. So when you say, is rock dead, in the way that it should be, they're not calling it rock music, right? If you are not playing bands like, there are hundreds of millions of people that like Nirvana. And if you're not playing Teenage Wrist for them, you're not doing your job. And that's my take on is rock dead, is keep Gene Simmons out of the press. And even then, I kind of see Gene's point. Gene's too extreme with his point, but when he's like, well, where are the fucking rock stars? If rock isn't dead, why do I see Billie Eilish and fucking Travis Scott and all these people, Bad Bunny, whatever, and I don't see any rock stars? And he's got a point with that. It's just that he says that thing stopped in the mid-90s, and it didn't. The last big rock band were My Chemical Romance. Avenged Sevenfold are big for a band from our world. The last big rock band were My Chemical Romance. And that is now a decade and a half ago, right? And we have just come off of a decade, which was the first decade where rock had no part to play in mainstream culture, right? Yeah. In mainstream culture in the 2000s, you saw Fred Durst in all the videos, right? Korn and all the rest of it. And in the 90s and the 80s, it all speaks for itself for guitar music. But in the last decade, if you're telling me rock is Imagine Dragons, Coldplay, and fucking I don't know what, like, we got to do something about that. So is rock dead? Yeah, they've killed the term rock. The reason why I called my channel Moshtalks is because a mosh pit exists at an all-time low show and the Cannibal Corpse show, right? Yeah. It's something that unites us all, because the term rock, they have dragged through the mud so much that rock is borderline unrecognizable by what they call it. So if there's this deeper question there, John. I know you were just taking the piss, but that's my deep answer.
Hell yeah! And by the way, speaking of Moshtalks, you guys, if you just type the word mosh in the chat, it'll pair you up with someone else in the chat and throw you in the pit. So let's just open up a little pit here. We you can mosh and look, I'm in there.
That is amazing. Love it.
Open up the pit. Exactly. We got another question here from Tim. Question for Beez, mainly aimed for Unmuted Show and his viewers. What band that you found through the stream would you recommend whenever you could? That's a good question. That's a good question.
In all of the time that the channel has existed, it's Spirit Box, right? But you're not going to be able to move for Spirit Box. At the end of the year, in 3 months' time, you will see that band everywhere, completely, like, everywhere. But Spirit Box have done this thing where they have ethereal touches, real feminine moments of beauty and grace, in with really inventive song structures and brilliant visions aesthetically. Their music videos, their art, their merch, their music is all one complete package. And the Spirit Box album reminds me of an album like the first Slipknot record, which is, you hear it and you go, like, without question, this is going to be fucking massive. Like, so Spirit Box would be that answer. So a band that I think, I've mentioned them a couple of times here. I love the Dirty Nil from Canada. If you like the idea of like Nirvana style alternative rock with the occasional bit of metal thrown in, the Dirty Nil are your gang. But Teenage Wrist have written an album this year with 3 songs on it that should be worldwide smash singles. As far as 90s alt rock goes, it is of the highest standard. And in the same way that I don't believe that 60,000 people in every single city he goes to, people will go and see Bruce Springsteen, but the Menzingers are stuck in 400 capacity clubs. Like, I feel that way about Teenage Wrist and Nirvana. Like, how many people will walk around with that smiley face shirt on? Or how many people will go, you know what? I'm going to play Nevermind. Like, and those people would love Teenage Wrist. So Teenage Wrist, if you like Nirvana and you like that kind of thing, you need that album like you need the oxygen in your lungs.
And absolutely. Everyone make sure you go check that out. For us here on Unmuted, I think I could speak for the tribe. There was this one recommendation that came out of nowhere. Someone jumped in the chat, recommended Project Mishram from India, right? And I don't think I've never seen the chat react the way we did that day, and it completely melted all our faces off. It like just destroyed us. We had I am writing that down now.
What's the name of the band, Adnan?
Project Mishram. And
Project Mishram, got it.
Yeah, do you guys remember what the single was that we listened to? That completely destroyed us. And people were asking about the band in Discord after the band themselves got in touch with us, because so many people tagged us on Instagram. They're like, what did you guys do? Like, what is this? We don't even know what this is.
I tell you what's got weird for me, right, is that because I was on television 8 years ago in the UK now, what you've got is a bunch of kids that are coming through in Britain that being interviewed by me is kind of a thing that they want to do, because they saw me on TV talking to all the bands that they loved when they were learning their instrument and all the rest of it, and they were in their formative teenage years. Now a band like Vexed and Noir and all these kind of bands that are coming through from the UK now, like, have this complete fucking, like, it's a bizarre position to be in, but I'm very grateful for it that people seem stoked on it.
Dude, I could say as someone and I know you're as awkward as I am when it comes to this stuff, as someone that genuinely is inspired by the way you did things and inspired by not only the stuff that you've done in the past, but the way you've run the Twitch channel. And shout out to Tristan for even letting me know that was a thing, and inspiring us to do this here on this channel. It does still have that. It doesn't go away. You have been a huge part of a lot of people's rock and metal journey in general. I just want to put that out there.
Cheers, man. Long may it continue. There's still good bands to help. Let's fucking get to work, innit?
Hell yeah. We have a bunch more questions from the tribe. But wait, before I get to the questions, I just want to take a second to just shout out every single one of you guys from the Mosh Squad that hit follow: Murder Music, Double Take, Frag Dad, Tiger Mom, Mark, Negative Crap. These names are amazing. Muse Grove. Who else is in here? Derpy for gifting that tier 1 sub. Skunky Boy and Tim and Jesh. Thank you guys so much. And Parker just hit follow. Thank you guys so much for jumping on board, and welcome to the tribe, you guys. Thank you. It's been an awesome episode here.
It's always a pleasure, man.
Cheers, you guys. Julian is asking, how much and which brand of coffee do you drink? I need 2 kilos of it.
Do you know what? I have one Monster Energy Zero in the morning. That's what I have. But I'm naturally high BPM, and I have got to put it into perspective.
No,
like
she wasn't ready.
Genuinely, I tell you, they never are. The level of what comes out of me is quite natural, even when I don't have a caffeine in me. But if you want to know what it is, Monster Energy Zero. It comes in a white can.
Monster Energy Zero. There you go. Julian's running to the store as we speak. We got 2 quick questions here. What year was the Phil Anselmo interview from Not So Safe?
Ooh. So hello. It was what was so Down played the Roundhouse. So it would have been. I think it was on that the first EP that they brought out. So it would have been about 2009, 2010. But I've interviewed him a bunch of times since. The best one was we did one at Download, and he had his set list there. And it turned out that it was the first time that he was going to be playing Pantera songs. Yeah. And I saw the set list before the interview, and I went, Phil, I got to be honest, I'm freaking the fuck out that you're going to be playing I'll Cast a Shadow from Reinventing the Steel, which is one of the most underrated Pantera songs. I was like, am I all right to ask you that in the interview? This won't go out until a couple of weeks' time. And he was like, yep. He's good times. I've been lucky with Phil.
The next one is from Rexter. Where are you in LA? That's the way you phrase that is kind of creepy, Rexter. But he's a fellow LA guy, so I'm assuming.
Amazing! I'm in North Hollywood, but you will find me at all shows from here to Anaheim. Like anywhere in that vicinity, you will find me at shows.
Hell yeah. Parker with I feel is a loaded question. I don't know if that's your intention, Parker. But who's better, Avenged Sevenfold or Weezer?
Yep, that's definitely intentional. I like both bands, right? But if I had a gun to my head, which it would take, it would be I would pick Weezer. I would pick Weezer. But that is because
I would too.
Look at me. Look at this guy. Like, imagine this guy not picking Weezer looking like this.
I wanted to, actually, I'm going to use this question to jump onto my next subject, because this is awesome. You talked about how passion is your work. What you do for a job is what you've always wanted to do. What does Beez get up to when it's not rock and metal? And Derpy asked, what would you say is your most nerdy hobby apart from anything to do with music?
Oh, what's my most nerdy hobby? I don't talk about it publicly, but ancient mysticism is probably my my biggest, nerdiest thing. Movies is the thing. I said it to you earlier. Horror movies was my first love. And it's, I feel like I have seen literally everything that I have wanted to see because of the last year in lockdown and being starved of a lot of new content. Movies just stopping coming out was killer for me. And the thing is, like, when I'm at a live show, when I go to see a band, I'm still kind of working because people will come up and from labels and whatever will be talking to you. It's not a relaxing situation, but I missed movies, going to the cinema so much. Yeah. So my nerdiest hobby is reading up on various different ancient mystical practices. And my main love is I've got really into basketball here as well, because of the time zone difference. I have to wake up really early in the morning for football, which I guess is the right answer. I support Arsenal in London, and never a dull moment. And that is my main passion, because that involves getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to watch your team lose 1-0 at Aston Villa. And the podcast content that I consume is football stuff as well. The Patreons that I subscribe to, a bunch of those are Arsenal. One of them is my friend Stefan Shirazi, and the other one is pro wrestling.
Pro wrestling.
So I fell out of love with wrestling because WWE fell off a cliff a couple of years ago. And then this new federation started with AEW. I'm going to do that weird friend thing again. Chris Jericho is someone I'll text. And when he was going there, it made such a big wow level of difference. And I've fallen in love with AEW. And so in September, for my birthday, my wife is taking me to Chicago for the next AEW pay-per-view. And I have decided that I'm going to follow AEW like a football team. So whenever they do their big pay-per-view, I'm going to go to wherever that place is. So I'm going to Chicago for All Out in September. And then I'm going to St. Louis, Missouri, the Glamour date for Full Gear in November. But I've never been to Missouri, so people tell me the barbecue food is wicked. I think that's my main hobbies, but being honest, most of those things involve having music on in the background. And when I went to an ice hockey game out here, I came out and my main takeaway was, wow, they use Twisted Sister and Metallica as goal music out here. How mad is that?
That is pretty fucking cool, though. That is,
right?
Yeah. That's very different. It's I want to ask you about your reach when it comes to the Middle East. We had a question from Patreon. What do you know about, if anything, from the rock and metal from the Middle East?
This is where we need to put our weight more. This is why you being here is an invaluable service. And now that we've had this chat, you now know that I've got New Music Saturday. So if you hear something that's good, you can pass it on to me and I'll put it on my New Music Saturday show. So
amazing.
while the answer right now is no, globalization is part of what I'm talking about, right?
Absolutely.
If the Western, if the media in America or the UK are too lazy to reach outside of America, the UK, occasionally Australia and Canada, and occasionally mainland Europe, if that's their scope, then I see the globe. If there's a metal band in Korea doing wicked stuff, I want to know about it. And likewise, us creating this friendship now, your question, whoever asked that on Patreon, massive high five to you, because you've now opened up a gateway for Adnan to tell me about a band that I will tell my people about, and then Middle Eastern bands have an alternative way into an area that they might not have been in. So
absolutely.
Fuck yeah, Twitch, I guess.
And Tribe, you guys know I don't shut the fuck up about the scene here. So
yes, that's it.
There's going to be a bunch of stuff. Absolutely.
And it's gonna have a certain flavour to it that is different. I miss if there's one thing about the internet that I think has been bad for music creation, I miss scenes starting naturally. What happened in Seattle didn't happen by accident, right? There was just a bunch of people in this one place creating this amazing thing. And that's the same for sludge in New Orleans, whatever it is. This is super exciting to me to be able to do that.
Absolutely. My version of, and I said version, you guys, they make fun of the way I say it. My version of trying to combat that was I started a Spotify playlist with a couple of people from the scene here, and we called it the New Wave of Middle Eastern Metal. Just to throw off that, what is it supposed to sound like? What does it not sound like? And we put a bunch of the range from heavy rock and heavy metal, all the way to like the stankiest of death metals. That's kind of my fight. The get this side of the world up and running, because there are a lot of people here that genuinely don't get the chance at all whatsoever, like we were talking about.
Man, we were responsible for that. In editorial rooms, that was something that, again, that the media has kind of let itself down on, is we used to do that, right? You had the new wave of American heavy metal, metalcore, new metal. These are all invented terms in editorial office. My friend Simon is the person who invented the word screamo. Right? If you've ever read Screamo, he's the guy that came up with this, Simon Young, who worked at Kerrang. And I think it's a massive failing. I tried, the press in England don't like me because I point out that they are dishonest for money. And so I couldn't get that message across into them. I wanted to resurrect that. Like the new wave of Brit rock was something I wanted to do when Creeper and Milk Teeth and Puppy and all these bands were starting to do amazing things 5 years ago. I wanted to make them part of a scene. Like, people connect with that shit. And so the new wave of Middle Eastern metal, like, is exciting to me, even that as a package. If there's a playlist that is the new wave of Middle Eastern metal, I want to hear it. Do you know what I mean?
Hell yeah. Yeah. That's I struggle to find the words after hearing you say stuff like that, because for me, like you were saying, like the reach, being able to have this conversation with you, and just while you were talking, imagining that, like, oh, check it out, Beez is listening to the new Nerve Cell album, or you know what I mean, like a band from here. It just blows my mind. It completely blows my mind that could be that's now a reality at this point.
I promise you, I don't break promises, man. I promise you, if you tell me something's good, I'll play it. I'll play it on the Saturday, because my audience are the people that I trust, man. Like they're hard to please. Like that, I feel like liking the shit that I like and being the way that I am. It's kind of cool to be able to play their music and then make their minds up. Like, it's not necessary that they're going to turn up and just tell me what I think is great. They're hard to please, and that lets you know if a band is especially rad. Yeah,
absolutely. We got another. The Patreon chat is popping off. You and Beez should do a podcast someday with the best of Middle Eastern metal playlist. Hell yeah. Yeah. Yes. That's a brilliant idea as a joint stream. If that's on the table, I volunteer myself as tribute. There we go, dude. This has been an absolute fucking blast to have a conversation with you and talk about the journey and everything you're doing. I have two more things. One of them I stole from you, and the first one that we're going to talk about is just the future. Where's Beez going to be in the future? What are your big plans, and where do you see this Twitch and everything going now that the pandemic is starting to ease up a bit?
I think the thirst for this platform is real. And I think that the level of creativity that Twitch affords me is everything that I could ever need, I think. If I want to do interviews, I can do them. If I want to do anything at all that your mind can think of, Song Wars, New Music Saturday, whatever, like, I can do that here. And that's not to say that there won't be other things. Like, there's always other things on the horizon. I'm really excited that the fact that, I'll be honest about it, someone nearly took my Metallica podcast to distribute it. Like a big media corporation, we're going to take my Metallica podcast and get it out to more people. They opted not to, which is fine, totally fine. But that means that is going to restart again. The idea is this. Every single week, we are going to tackle a different Metallica song from their back catalogue until we have done every song that they have ever recorded. And it will serve as the most definitive look at the Metallica songbook ever assembled. I'm doing it with the best music journalist to ever put pen to paper, in my opinion, which is Ian Winwood, a guy from Kerrang magazine. And his story is so mad that he was there. You know the bit in Some Kind of Monster when Rob Trujillo gets asked, yo, do you want to join Metallica and here's $1 million?
Oh, I'll buy my own house. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, right. Well, he was there that day. He was covering that for Kerrang. So he was with them in a truck where they rehearse. They play a couple of songs before they go on stage. So he's literally stood next to Metallica as they do Battery to warm up. Like, his stories are wild and he's not afraid. And I need someone like Metallica are my all-time favorite band. Like, my knuckles are literally given to Metallica. And I need someone that is going to tell me that the song with the hurdy-gurdy on it on Reload is not good. Right? It can't be two people saying this song that everyone doesn't think is good. Because while I have all of that, there are two bands that I know I have no filter for the quality of what they produce, and that's Metallica and AFI. I just so happen to like everything that they do. But yeah, there's that, and who knows what's going to come.
That's the
Twitch.
beauty of it, though, isn't it? Is that, like you said, you had an idea for a show this morning. It could be a thing by next weekend.
Absolutely, and I think I'll keep. I was nearly going to say the idea there, but I'll save it for when I'm unfurling it. But yeah, it's inspiring, isn't it? Every day is an adventure, and I love that. And you know, if I have a day where I'm feeling it, because I struggle with a lot of things, like mentally. Yeah. It's why I do meditation. It's why I've worked. I continually every day to work on myself to get better. But I can't help but feel that if I'm not feeling it, I don't have to show up, and no one holds it against me. No one's like, well, I'm waiting. It just feels like Twitch affords me everything that I need.
Absolutely. And it's the same. I relate to that, and I just want to take a second to say thank you guys for the tribe that's been around since the Facebook days. For those that don't know, we used to stream on Facebook, which is horrible. Just don't ever stream there. And to the guys that just jumped on board today, it's fucking awesome. It means the world to us. And if you haven't already, if for some reason you haven't jumped over to Moshtalks, there's a link in the chat. I'll drop another one in just a bit. Awesome. Head over there, hit that follow button, man. And Mutation, thank you for that follow. So I told you I stole something from you. I remember the interviews, and you always started with a question, the same question every time. What made you want to be in a band? And from that as inspiration, I end these podcasts with the same way every time. If you had a time machine and you were able to go back in time and talk to young Beez, just about to get the internship, just about to start his journey in the world of music and become everything that you've become, and you had that line of communication open, what would you say to young you?
I would tell myself that I am good enough. I've struggled with that shit a lot. And I think I've been quite outwards about it. And I feel like some of my aggression was to do with feeling like I didn't fit, or feeling like I weren't being taken seriously, and all those kind of things. So I would tell myself to chill out. I would teach myself transcendental meditation, and I would show me some really weird shit when it comes to mysticism. And beyond that, I would, the main one though is I would tell myself that I'm good enough, because it's hard, man. When you come from working class background like I do, and everyone in England is public schooled, And when I came into the industry, I was called things like Barra Boy, and they would all rip the piss out of my accent and all the rest of it, right?
Yeah.
And it had a real effect on me psychologically that it took me a long time to recover from. And I know this answer is a lot deeper than you might have expected, but I would tell myself that.
It means the absolute fucking world to me that we kicked off season 2 with you. We have a couple of more questions in the
by all means.
Danny's asking, are you moist? Danny, why
yeah, this is a leather seat. I sweat my bollocks off. See these shorts? I have to change them. I have to change them in the middle of my stream after about 3 hours. I'm a hairy man and I sweat through them. Form an orderly queue, ladies.
Hopefully that answers Danny's question. Danny, there you go. We have a thing with moist on this channel. I still don't know how it happened, but
yeah, exactly like that. Stream elements. Superb.
Why are you like this? From Patient 666.
I wish I knew.
Team Sevenfold right after that.
Oh, okay. Just because it's fun to poke. It's like, I feel like some people will act like they're controversial, right? And all they will do is shoot fish in a barrel, right?
Yeah.
Sitting there going, hey, everyone, isn't Kid Rock stupid? Like, that's not controversial. That's what people think. That's what loads and loads of people think. And yeah, I think that, I'd stay away from that kind of broadcaster.
I completely agree. Absolutely. This might be a tough one to just answer real quick. What do you think of Deftones' latest album?
Oh, I tell you, man, I love OMS. And the good sign of a band that you've had a long history with is how long, when you go to listen to that band, are you still listening to their latest record? And I am still listening to OMS. The title track from OMS, being the first single, got me ludicrously excited for it because there is no other song in the Deftones back catalogue that sounds like the song OMS. So for me, for this wildly creative, inventive band that have been a band since the mid-90s to still be doing something that you've never heard before was a fucking incredible achievement before I'd heard the record. And then I heard the record and I was kind of lukewarm with it because I'd set the bar too high with that song. And after living with it for a little while, I bloody love it. And I still, when I go to listen to Deftones, I'm still listening to that record. And I by token, with Slipknot, sometimes if I go to listen to them, it's still quite regularly We Are Not Your Kind that I'll put on. Yeah.
For me, I'm one of those people that was like, old Deftones versus new Deftones. And we recently had, I think it was maybe a couple of days ago, everything's merged, but a Deftones stream, last Monday. And awesome. I for the first time got to listen to it and just have a chat with the chat. I fucking love that album now too.
It's good, isn't it?
I didn't think I would, and but I started falling in love with it immediately.
When we talk about drummers, we quite often judge drummers on their fills and the impressive things that they do. But Abe Cunningham is the best drummer in the world for beats. If you listen to the backbeat that he provides, always the invention on it, like they're really catchy. Abe Cunningham, big ups, and you'll love this, Adnan. I DJ'd the Reading Festival guest area one year, right? And I just played new metal for half an hour, right? They were like, keep it varied. And I was like, yeah. And I did for the first hour and a half of my 2 hours. And then the last half an hour, I played nothing but new metal, right? And at the back of the room, when I played Rollin' by Limp Bizkit, was Abe Cunningham and Sergio Vega doing the rolling dance to the chorus. And I saw him doing it and I just went like that at him and he started laughing. I was like, I see you doing the rolling dance.
Amazing. We have one last one in the question queue. Brilliant episode, hell of an act to follow. God help whoever's on next. That's from Bloodstock Fest, who's episode 2, by the way. who's episode 2.
Hell
So
yeah!
It'll be a hell of a conversation, Bloodstock and Squatter. I'm very much looking forward to that.
If I may, I always want to give a big up to Bloodstock at any chance I get, especially with this being international. Bloodstock in the UK has a really regular turnover of new headline acts, and they do such an amazing job of catering for the UK metal fans. But their bigger achievement, I think, is they have made bands like Gojira and Ghost and bands that have had Behemoth, bands that have done Bloodstock at the business end of their bill, and it's led to them getting main stage slots at Download and being treated more seriously by the press and being given better placements on Spotify and things like that. So Bloodstock in the UK is a real a diamond in our crown, I think.
Absolutely. And if you guys didn't already know, Bloodstock is they're on Twitch. There's a bunch of different shows and stuff that they do. So head over to their Twitch channel and check it out. It's a hell of a lot of fun. But dude, Beez, thank you so much for this episode, and thank you for your time. And for those that don't know, Beez will be going live on Moshtalks in a little bit, and a little later. When are we expecting the?
In about 5 minutes.
In about 5 minutes. All right.
Yeah.
You know
like
what?
I'm gonna stop this. I'm gonna change my sweaty shorts, and I'll be with you in about 5 minutes.
Hell yeah. So in 5 minutes, we'll all be over there. How is it possible for you to go live while I close up shop here and then we just raid? Should we do that?
If you
take the party over there?
If you kick me off I'll tell you what, as good faith for what you're doing, I'll play Project Mishram.
Hell yeah.
First. I'll play that first song.
All right, that's the plan, you guys. I'll play you guys a couple of Middle Eastern metal bands in the meantime, and then we'll go party on over at Beez's place. Is that cool? All right, everybody's in.
I tell you, it's super cool to feel like I've made a friend today, Adnan. That didn't feel like an interview. That felt like two mates hanging out. I love that.
Dude, I fucking love that, and me too, dude. And like I said, anything that ever comes up, now we have that channel open, we have that communication open, and I'm very much looking forward to everything that we can pull off together. It's amazing.
If I can ever help bands from your neck of the woods out here, I will do so. Yeah, my word.
Yeah. Hell yeah! Well, we'll be in your chat, throwing some things your way, and
see you in about 8 minutes.
In about 8 minutes to officially end the episode of the podcast, we need you in the most passionate Beez way to just say, hit the outro.
Hit that outro.